Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. So glad you're here. Let's go. Today we're going to provide some information about disaster exercises. After we write plans and we train on the plans, we need to test our understanding and our capabilities. We can do this through disaster exercises. We have a few goals with our video today. One is to mention the value of exercises, why they are important. Next, we're going to share some information on the types of exercises that exist, and then we're going to provide some information on how to have more successful exercises in the future. Exercises are invaluable. They help us to practice and learn and rehearse. In this sense, they're similar to what a sports team might do, or even the symphony. So these professionals hone their skills, and they do that frequently. Emergency managers must do this as well. Emergency managers and other personnel can enhance their skills and their knowledge through disaster exercises. And there's various types of exercises. There's drills, tabletop exercises, and then functional and full-scale exercises. We're going to talk about each one of these. The first type of exercise is known as a drill. This exercise tests knowledge and skills. It often involves first responders in a field setting, and it includes a low degree of stress. The second type of exercise is a tabletop. This often involves leaders of organizations in an office setting. A scenario is presented, and then these leaders work through the problems that are presented in this disaster case that they're working on. So this is a great way to educate department leaders and elected officials. Keep in mind that first responders train all the time, but leaders don't always have that opportunity. So tabletops should be taken advantage of. A third type of exercise is a functional exercise. So the purpose is to test 1 to 3 functions, a few of them, such as search and rescue, emergency medical care, and maybe public information, among others. This often occurs in the field, but also may have headquarters components, and it involves some degree of stress. The final type of exercise is very large, and it is known as a full-scale exercise. It involves first responders, emergency management personnel, and many others. It's very comprehensive and tests many functions, if not all of them. It's high stress, and in contrast to the others, it includes a lot of props and equipment. Well, exercises don't happen by themselves. They require lots of advanced planning. There are several steps that we can take to ensure that they're successful. The first of which is to form an exercise team, and this may be made up of individuals from the public, private, and nonprofit sectors. A second step is to identify our needs. Do we have weaknesses we need to overcome? Do we have a new plan that we need to test? Those things could be considered as we look at needs. We'll need to schedule the date and location of the exercise and make sure that that's done weeks or months in advance. We have to design the scenario, and again, that relates back to the needs that we're trying to test. Another step is to acquire the props and victims for our exercise to make it look realistic. So we might need a vehicle that's been damaged, or a plane fuselage, or victims who have been moulaged. In other words, they look like they've been hurt in a disaster. And then, of course, at that point, we can run the exercise, and we need to make sure that we have someone who's in charge of running that and making sure it flows smoothly. One of the most important things that we need to do is to evaluate the exercise. So we need to have an evaluation team in place so that they are assigned and know what they're looking at, and they're able to assess where we're successful and where we're falling short. At the end of the exercise, a hot wash will be provided to discuss what we learned from the exercise, and then later on a report will be compiled, and this will be shared with the participants so that they will understand where we can improve in the future. This report is extremely important, and it should be shared with state and federal government officials. In many cases, some of the grants that you receive are tied to exercises. So if you don't hold exercises or you don't document your successes and failures and your opportunities for improvement, grants could be in jeopardy. If you want to learn more about disaster exercises, there's some books available, and you can find these on Amazon or any other website that sells books. This one is by Regina Phelps, and you can also access information about exercises through FEMA and through your state partners. Exercises, to recap, are like a practice for a sports team or a rehearsal for the symphony. They help us to reinforce our knowledge and improve our capacities and capabilities. Several steps have to be taken to implement a successful disaster exercise program. One of the most important things to keep in mind is involving the leaders of different departments and especially the elected officials. Again, first responders train all the time, but we lack training in emergency management, particularly for department leaders and elected officials. So keep that in mind as you go forward. Good luck and thanks.